Should The Last of Us Part 2 have had multiple endings? The short answer is no, but I really want to take some time and go deep into this question because I have seen a lot of people online saying that The Last of Us Part 2 should have had multiple endings. Like, you should have had an option to either kill Abby or to spare her life. And it just blows my mind because that doesn't make sense. Like, a game like The Last of Us and The Last of Us Part 2, those aren't games where you should be able to make decisions. You just experience the story, and whatever Naughty Dog decides to take that story, that's where it goes. When it comes to games like Telltale, like The Walking Dead and The Wolf Among Us, those games, of course it makes sense where you make choices and different endings. But when it comes to Sony's major story-driven exclusives, they should not have multiple endings. Imagine if God of War 2018 or Uncharted 4 had multiple endings where you could choose. That doesn't make any sense to me. Especially when it comes to The Last of Us. If I would have played part 2 and by the end it gave me an option hey, do you want to kill Abby or do you want to spare her life? And there was 2 different endings, I would be so annoyed because it's okay, if Naughty Dog decides to make Last of Us Part 3, what ending would be canon? Would they go with, okay, so we're going to take this story as if Abby got killed, or no, Abby was spared? That's just so stupid to me. One game series that I used to play when I was younger was Gears of War, and those were linear story-driven games. You didn't make any choices. And then it was in Gears 5 where there was multiple endings where you could choose to save one character or save the other, and the other one would die. And even for that series, I mean, that was kind of okay. In general, I just don't like games where you can choose multiple endings. Now, when it comes to games like Ghost of Tsushima, that actually made sense for the story, where you could either kill Jin Sekai's grandfather or you could spare him. That made sense with the story. For The Last of Us, especially The Last of Us Part 2, that wouldn't make sense at all. If you actually understand the story, of course, a lot of people, and it kind of makes sense. I don't really blame people for them, wanting Abby to die, but it's all about forgiveness, if forgiveness was just taken out of the world and no one forgave anyone for anything, the world would be so much worse than it already is. So I just don't understand why some people just, if something doesn't go their way in a game, whether it's a story moment or a gameplay mechanic, they always go to Twitter and they're you know what, this game should have had multiple endings. I should be able to choose how the game ends, not the developers. And it's just so stupid, I'm so tired of people just whining when they don't get their way. I would have never thought in a million years that I would see an actual post on Twitter saying should The Last of Us Part 2 have had multiple endings, and the majority of people in the comments saying yes, it should have. That just blows my mind. I will always be extremely grateful for what Naughty Dog did for The Last of Us Part 2 as far as taking a risk in the storytelling and not playing it safe, and making it another Joel and Ellie experience, another adventure. I really appreciate what they did, and take it from me, I used to hate Abby as well, until I played the game several times and I actually ended up loving her, despite her killing my favorite character of all time in Joel. I want Last of Us Part 3 to be about Abby and Lev, just because a character kills off one of the characters that you care about doesn't mean that they're unredeemable. To a lot of people she was, but that doesn't justify changing a whole entire game series, especially in the sequel, just to try and justify you being able to have what you want by choosing to kill Abby in the end. I just don't get it. But what do you guys think down below? Let me know if you feel like The Last of Us Part 2 should have had multiple endings, and if, let's say, it did, would you have chosen to kill Abby or to spare her life? Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're new and turning on the post notification bell so you don't miss my next upload. Until next time, guys, take care.